Hey, welcome back, free radicals. Those who aren't so free radical. I'm Dave, and this is the Radical Independent, and this clip popped up in my Twitter feed, and I was going to let it go. I was just going to look at it. I played the clip. I think what's happening here, first of all, let me preface this by saying, this guy over here, if I'm pointing the right direction, he's way smarter than I am. Way smarter. I mean, he's been doing this for like a decade. I think when YouTube started, he began a channel, and he's got like, 700,000 something subscribers. So he's a smart dude. He's been doing this for a long time. He eats and drinks and sleeps progressive, or neo-progressive. I don't know how you want to describe it these days. I don't think he bought into the Russian hoax. Pretty sure he didn't. But when I first started doing this, he was a go-to source of information. And he's still really entertaining. However, I'm going to play this clip. First of all, just again, to sort of set this up, he's on TYT, on something called The Conversation on TYT with Cenk. I'm not a Cenk fan. I've never been a Cenk fan. I don't understand the whole Young Turks concept. I don't get why it is the go-to so-called, and if anything is neo-progressive out here, it's TYT. TYT should be the home of the neo-progressives. So let me play the clip here because it's very instructive.
When it comes to foreign policy, you have, Bernie is really outflanking everybody to the left on that issue. When it comes to foreign policy, you have, Bernie is really outflanking everybody to the left on that issue.
Did you hear what he said? Bernie. Bernie is outflanking everybody on foreign policy. This is this election cycle. It's 2020, correct? And it's not 2016, it's 2020. So what we're seeing, I believe, is the slow kind of creeping away from the Tulsi Gabbard thing. Tulsi is going up in the polls. We're finding out that a lot of independents and Republicans are liking Tulsi. And again, it's guilt by association. This guy can't be seen with anybody who used to like Donald Trump or who may have voted for Trump because he or she had nowhere else to go in 2016. Yeah, I know. Pull the lever for Jill Stein, the principal thing to do. Looks good on your resume. But you wanted somebody who may have had a better chance at winning the White House. I can understand that. We're now becoming, or we're seeing, I'm not becoming anything. I'm becoming frustrated, actually. But what I'm seeing here is pragmatism. Pragmatism. See, he's got the Bernie shirt on here, if you didn't see that. So he's like, I've got the Tulsi shirts on sometime. I don't make any bones about what I'm doing or who I'm for. Would I vote for Senator Sanders? Yes, I would. However, he does not have the best foreign policy, and he hasn't led his campaign with foreign policy. He's not outflanking anybody. Okay, so maybe this guy has gone on this show because this entire network has gone full in for Elizabeth Warren. So he's there to kind of bring them. He's not going to talk about Tulsi on their channel because Tulsi now is like, kryptonite. It's like you can't talk about Tulsi on this channel. And in a lot of these neo-progressive quarters these days, I've noticed that Tulsi Gabbard has become really almost like a disease. Like, Tulsi, she was great, but she had me going for a while, but, this is how that thing with Obama the other day and on the Biden thing, just too many of them in a row. Okay. But no, I'm sorry, Kyle. I'm sorry, everybody. Nobody beats Tulsi Gabbard on foreign policy. Nobody. Not even close. Sanders has talked about the evil dictators and, in the sense that we need to go in there and do something about it. And I guarantee you, Bernie Sanders' foreign policy will continue on the same trajectory. His instincts will try to pull us out of different things, but I guarantee he's going to get sucked in to doing something somewhere. And by the way, I'm not 100% sure that Tulsi Gabbard can overcome sitting down with a bunch of people who are inside the Pentagon, inside the entire complex, and look them and stare them down and say, this is my government, this isn't your government. I don't know, because this is the big thing that none of these people are really talking about. No matter who gets elected, are they going to be able to stare down this military? It's more than just a military-industrial complex. It's tied to everything. It's tied to the media. It's tied to the entertainment culture. Turn on a network television station on any weeknight, and they're running a violent cop show. NCIS has like 4 different versions of it, and it's on almost every night. If you miss NCIS Los Angeles, you'll get the regular one. If you miss the regular one, you'll get New Orleans. I mean, there's all of these shows that basically feed into this culture of, hey, this is what we do. And it's ingrained in everything. And imagine if you had a president that walked into the Oval Office and said, you know what? We're going to have to kind of redefine our entertainment values. We're going to have to be a different country. Not to say we can't have some cop shows, taking care of business in your neighborhood, but you got to show like SWAT, showing the militarization of the police. And so you need, basically to stop this, you need somebody who's going to be really serious about it. And this guy's trying to make the case that nobody's outflanking Bernie. Really? Tulsi is. But you can't talk about Tulsi anymore. Tulsi is starting to get canceled. Let's just be honest. There are a bunch of neo-progs that they see Bernie doing pretty well in the polls and saying, well, we've put up with Tulsi long enough. We've tried to say Tulsi's okay. Tulsi has some followers that are very passionate, and occasionally they make a point here or there, but Bernie's got this. He's been in this since 2016. He's got this huge ground game. He's got the infrastructure. He's out raising everybody. We know, though, for a fact that even though these are cool, small donations and they're not coming from corporations and so forth, money doesn't necessarily equal victory. Ask Hillary Clinton about that. So this was a really surprising thing because this guy, like I said, he's smarter than this. He just is. He's like the other guy I've been critiquing lately, and I haven't mentioned the other guy by name, but I've alluded to it. He's smarter than me too. All of these guys are pretty much smarter than me. If we were in a room, they'd know about topics that I would just throw my hands up and go, what? Okay. I come from sort of a center-right, old-school perspective, but the reason I've drifted left is because nobody in the government seems to want to help me and my family. But I don't care about all of these identity politics issues, and the constant talk about race at times, I think, is almost counterproductive. It just feeds into this narrative that people are obsessed with things that aren't happening. I'm not saying that there aren't injustices, and there are some major problems, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've militarized police forces all over the country. And the reason we've done that is because we've got a military culture, which is everywhere, which is in the entertainment culture. It's in the video games. It's chic, military chic. It's cool. And you will say, well, Dave, Tulsi actually serves in the armed forces. Yeah, and her service has made her hypersensitive to the fact of this entire MIC taking over everything. So, again, he sits there, and I know why he's saying it, I know why he's doing it, but it shows that these people are beginning to just cancel Tulsi. This network is funded by some deep pockets, and they're neo-progressive or even neoliberal on this channel at times. The fact that they're propping up Warren, who is really the worst look as far as a candidate going up against Donald Trump. She is the worst look, meaning that of all the candidates in this field, heck, I would put Amy Klobuchar ahead of Elizabeth Warren as far as defeating Donald Trump. Warren's got this ancestry thing just sitting there. And by the way, she released a crazy proposal today, her Medicare for All proposal, which is going to raise taxes on middle-class people. And see, instead of hitting the rich, I like Bernie's way of funding it. Tulsi wants to bring the money home. She's got a plan as far as if you can reduce our military footprint, you can pretty much fund anything. And if you watched a recent episode of Jimmy Dore, where they were talking about how the Fed has just been printing money lately again to offset all the fear now on Wall Street and all over, they've just bailed themselves out yet again, and nobody's paying attention to that. Imagine if they printed a few $1 billion and sent it out to the people who really needed it, to forgive the student loan debt. You know, start with the people with the lowest incomes and then work your way up, you know. But we're not seeing that. And they could print this money to relieve the pressure, but they won't print it for you and I. They just do it for all these fat cats and too big to fail institutions. So anyway, again, my apologies to Kyle Kulinski, because he's a smarter person than I am. I just think here this was a really disingenuous moment, and it shows that these people are backing away from Tulsi Gabbard. They're running, and they've hung in long enough. They don't like the stuff she's been saying about Obama and Biden. They don't like her independence on so many different issues. She doesn't toe a perfect progressive line. She's quirky. She's unpredictable. And it's too much for them. They want to go with Uncle Bernie, Grandpa Bernie, 78 years old. For me, it's a tough go. I mean, I'll tell you what, if any field of candidates, if there was ever a moment for another candidate to jump in, and I don't want any other candidates to jump in, but, you know, Hillary is out there, and who knows who else might be out there who might want to jump into this. There is a moment right now because, again, Warren's support, I think, is going to start to collapse again. I think she peaked. I think it's Bernie's nomination to lose because I think he's got the infrastructure and the momentum and the ground game and the grassroots, and he's been underpolled and so forth. But there's kind of a dissatisfaction, and it comes from all quarters within the Democratic Party. And I think Donald Trump is, right now, if I were Donald Trump, I'd be worried, but I wouldn't be panicked at all about this field of candidates. Imagine if it was Trump versus Tulsi. It'd be a landslide for Tulsi Gabbard. Again, we need a president we can look up to, who's got energy, who's exciting, who's independent, who shows love for the country, but isn't naive to where we've been and where we need to go. So, that's my video. Sorry, Kyle. I mean, I just couldn't believe this clip. See you soon.